Hi, this is Manpreet Kaur, and you are watching me on Unacademy's YouTube channel. First of all, I would like to welcome all my learners and all my viewers to India's largest learning platform, Unacademy. Let's crack it. So, guys, it's 3 o'clock, and today we are going to start a new chapter, Intellectual Rubbish by Bertrand Russell. And before that, let us see something exciting over here. And what is that? First comes our chapter name, that is Intellectual Rubbish, which is flashing on your screen right now, as you can see. Next, before I start, let me introduce myself. I am Manpreet Kaur. I have 16 years of experience in teaching and education field. I have worked with some of the renowned institutions as a teacher, vice principal, and as a principal too. I hope my voice is clear to you all before I begin. Is it I hope my voice, I guess, is clear. Next comes my code. You can see over here, Manpreet 10. This is the code which you can use to unlock the free special classes, as well as you can use this code for getting your Plus subscription. And whenever you take a Plus subscription, this code will help you to get additional 10% discount also. Now, let me show you this. Intellectual Rubbish. Let us begin the chapter. Hi Manoj. Good evening, child. Welcome to the class. So, we begin with our chapter now. Intellectual Rubbish. This is the chapter name, as you can see. To avoid the various foolish opinions to which mankind are prone, no superhuman genius is required. A few simple rules will keep you not from all error, but from silly error. If the matter is one that can be settled by observation, make the observation yourself. Aristotle could have avoided the mistake of thinking that women have fewer teeth than men by the simple device of asking Mrs. Aristotle to keep her mouth open while he counted. So you can see Intellectual Rubbish. It is some kind of very interesting chapter, and in the beginning itself you see it's written to avoid various foolish opinions. Foolish is like stupid, and opinions is your views. So foolish opinions, there are sometimes we all give foolish opinions which actually doesn't make any sense, but still we try to give our opinions. So it's written to avoid the various foolish opinions to which mankind are prone. No superhuman genius is required. In order to avoid the foolish opinions, you don't need a superhuman genius. You can just do it simply by yourself. If you follow simple rules, then all the errors and all the silly errors can be kept away from you. If the matter is one that can be settled by observation, make the observation yourself. The writer over here says, if you can settle your observation, if you can settle the matter by your observation, then do it yourself. Don't need to consider from someone else. Hi Kunal. Good afternoon, child. Welcome to the class. Aristotle could have avoided the mistake of thinking that women have fewer teeth than men by the simple device of asking Mrs. Aristotle to keep her mouth open while he counted. So it's funny, isn't it? It's written that very easily Aristotle could have avoided the error that women are having few teeth or fewer teeth than as compared to men. If he could have asked his own wife to keep her mouth open when he was counting. He did not do so because he thought he knew, thinking that you know when in fact you don't. It is a fatal mistake to which we all are prone. I believe myself that hedgehogs eat black beetles because I have been told that they do. If I were writing a book on the habits of hedgehogs, I should not commit myself until I had seen one enjoying this unappetizing diet. Aristotle, however, was less cautious. Hi Ujwala, good afternoon, child. Welcome to the class. So you can see, the writer says Aristotle could have asked his own wife to keep her mouth wide open and let him count her teeth so that he doesn't make any mistake. But Aristotle thought that he knows all the thing. Finally, he ended up giving mistake, giving wrong opinion. And similarly, the writer says we all are prone to that. We always think that we all know. Like for example, the writer says that he believes himself that hedgehog eat black beetles because he was always being told that hedgehogs eat. But what if the writer was supposed to write a book on the habits of hedgehog? Then he needs to explore, he needs to discover and find out, is this really true? And if he doesn't do that, what will happen? He will end up giving the wrong answers. Hi Sumit, good afternoon. Welcome to the class, child. So if we see here, the writer over here says that in order to make less mistakes, it is better you should check whatever you are saying. Then only you will be able to give the correct answer. Like for example, if you may be thinking that you are right, but somehow you can be wrong also, isn't it? Many matters, however, are less easily brought to the test of experience. If, like most of mankind, you have passionate conviction on many such matters, there are ways in which you can make yourself aware on your own bias. If an opinion contrary to your own makes you angry, that is a sign that you are subconsciously aware of having no good reason for thinking as you do. If someone maintains that 2 and 2 are 5 or that Iceland is on the equator, you feel pity rather than anger, unless you know so little of arithmetic or geography. That is his opinion, shakes your own contrary conviction. The most savage controversies are those about matters as to which there is no good evidence either way. So, whoever you find yourself getting angry about a difference of opinions, be on your own guard. You will be probably find on examination that your belief is going beyond what the evidence warrants. Before moving forward, let me first tell you, what do you mean by dogmatism? Dogmatism means insisting on the truths of one's opinion without any evidence. That is dogmatism. When you start believing that whatever you are believing is truth, instead of finding out the fact, when you do that, it is said to be as dogmatism. Here, The writer says that if someone comes and tell you that 2 plus 2 is 5, would you agree? No. We all know that 2 plus 2 is 4. But if someone comes and insists that no, 2 plus 2 is 5, or someone comes and say that Iceland is on equator or is near equator, then you won't become angry, right? You will feel pity. Pity is there aayegi. Why? Because you know that 100% sure that you were right. And you'll feel pity on the other person because maybe their maths and the knowledge of geography is very poor. And that is why maybe they are making the mistake. But you know what? Most of the time, it so happens that we start feeling that whatever we think is right. And when we come across any opinion which is in contradiction to our own opinion, then we get angry. And this is a sign that you are subconsciously aware of having no good reason for thinking as you do. I mean to say over here that if you think whatever you are thinking, whatever your opinion is, I might not be having the same opinion. But what if you come to know that I am having a different opinion as compared to you? Will you become angry? Of course, yes. Most of the people will become angry if if there is a contradiction of opinion between them, and it will lead to a fighting. Why does this happen? This happens because we all think that we are right and the other person is wrong. And that is why the writer says over here that you will probably find on examination that your belief is going beyond what the evidence warrants. When you sit in an examination hall, then you might find that whatever you believe is going beyond what the question is demanding from you. A good way of ridding yourself of certain kinds of dogmatism is to become aware of opinions held in social circles different from your own. Here, as we have already discussed the meaning of dogmatism, that is insisting on your own truth of one's opinion without any evidence. Sometimes we just keep on believing the things without having any evidence. We say because our elders were saying like that, so we believe that this thing has to happen like this way only. Although it may be in contradiction of the scientific facts, but still we keep on believing because it is since childhood this thing has been inserted into our mind that the things are to be this way. This is a clear example of dogmatism. Writer says, when I was young, I lived much outside my own country, in France, Germany, Italy, and United States. I found this is very profitable in diminishing the intensity of insular prejudice. If you cannot travel, seek out people with whom you disagree and read a newspaper belonging to a party that is not yours. If the people and newspaper seem mad, perverse, and wicked, remind yourself that you seem so to them. In this opinion, both parties may be right, but they cannot both be wrong. This reflection should generate a certain caution. What a great thought, isn't it? The writer over here suggests you that suppose if you belong or support a party and then you come along or read a newspaper which is of some other party and not yours, then You think that the other person is mad, perverse, or wicked. But that time, you should be cautious that the other person also thinks the same for you. It means if you think that the other party is wrong, in the similar fashion, the other party might think that you are wrong. But is it possible that both the parties are wrong at the same time? No, isn't it? What do you mean by prejudice? Okay, Ujwala, like suppose if you make certain kind of belief for someone beforehand, you just try to judge them like ये तो ऐसा ही होगा, ये तो अच्छा ही होगा, ये तो गंदा ही होगा, like that. You are judging them without any evidence, without even knowing about them. So, the writer says that both the parties cannot be wrong at the same time. One has to be correct, isn't it? If one is correct, certainly the other might be wrong. So, this reflection can create a caution in you. It happens to us. We always want to see, we always want to read what we think is right for us, is always what goes in the same direction as we want. If things are not our way, then we feel that the other person is mad. If, for example, if I think that, for example, a boy, if I think that this boy is a good person, then I would like to hear from rest everyone else that they support my answer and they support that yes, that the boy is good, or that boy is not good enough in studies. So I would like that everybody else would support my answer. We always want a support and we always want things to go in our way. But it cannot happen like that always. Things cannot go your own way. But that doesn't mean that both the parties are wrong. One is always right, the other is always wrong. But for you, you will always remain right. You will always think that you are right. And it happens to most of us. The writer over here says most of the time he has not spent in his own country. He kept on wandering from one nation to the other. Becoming aware of foreign customs, however, does not always have a beneficial effect. In the 17th century, where the Manchus conquered China, it was custom among Chinese for the women to have small feet, and among Manchus for the men to wear pigtails. Instead of each adopting their own foolish custom, they each adopted the foolish custom of the other, and the Chinese continued to wear pigtails until they shook off the dominion of the Manchus in the revolution of 1911. So you look here, I think this paragraph is quite funny. Writer over here says, but sometimes, like he said, that he kept on wandering from one nation to another. Sometimes it is good for you, but not always. Sometimes becoming aware of foreign custom can be harmful also. And here he gives the example of Manchus and China. What is that? He says in the 17th century, when Manchus they conquered China, conquered means jeetna. When Manchus people won over China, then that time Chinese people were having one tradition that the women should always have small feet. Their feet should not be large. Whereas Manchus people, they were always having a belief that the men should wear pigtails. Now, what happened? Instead of each dropping their own foolish custom, instead of removing their foolish customs, because that doesn't make any sense, right? How can you decide whether your feet will be small or big? Can you decide that? No. It depends upon the growth of your body. So how can you decide whether you will be having small feet or big feet, unless you're wearing some kind of shoes all the time, not allowing your feet to grow. And pigtails over here refers to two bunches of hair that are gathered and fastened on the either side of the head in braids or may be hanged freely. Okay. Pigtails you might have seen in the ancient time in TV or in movies. You might have seen, isn't it, Ujwala? That they were, wearing kind of a fake kind of bunches of hair. Sometimes they used to just leave the hairs freely, or sometimes they will just, choti bana lete the on the either side of the head. That is pigtail. So the Manchus, they were having a tradition that the men are supposed to wear pigtail. Then what happened? Instead of dropping each other's, instead of dropping their foolish custom, they adopted from each other. And the Chinese, they started wearing pigtails until they shook off the dominance of the Manchus in the revolution 1911. Now, for those who have enough psychological imagination, it is good plan to imagine an argument with a person having a different bias. This has one advantage and only one as compared with the actual conversation with opponent. This one advantage is that the method is not subject to the same limitation of time and space. Mahatma Gandhi deplored railways and steamboats and machinery. He would have liked to undo the whole of the Industrial Revolution. You may never have an opportunity of actually meeting anyone who holds this opinion because in Western countries, most people take the advantage of modern technique for granted. But if you want to make sure that you are right in agreeing with the prevailing opinion, you will find it a good plan to test the argument that occurred to you, considering what Gandhi might have said in the refutation of them. I have sometimes been led actually to change my mind as a result of this kind of imaginary dialogue. And short of this, I have frequently found myself growing less dogmatic and cocksure through realizing the possible reasonableness of hypothetical opponent. Hi Hema, good afternoon child, welcome to the class. So here the writer says, for the people who are having lots of psychological imagination, there are some people who imagine so much. It is a good plan to have an argument with a person having different opinion. This one has one advantage, and it's only one advantage. And what is that? That is, as compared with the actual conversation with the opponent, this one advantage is that the method is not subject to the same limitation of time and space. He has given one very nice example of Mahatma Gandhi over here. The writer says Mahatma Gandhi deplored the railways and steamboats and machinery. He would have simply liked to undo the whole of the Industrial Revolution. You may have never got an opportunity of actually meeting anyone who holds this opinion. Because in Western countries, the people are taking the advantage of modern techniques for granted. Why, Because when you are already having something with you, then what happens? You start taking the things for granted. Okay. When the thing is there with you, you start taking the things for granted and you believe that the things were meant to be with you. And you think that the things were always meant to be with you. And that is why you start taking the things for granted. Before we move forward, let me tell you the meaning of reputation. Refutation means that which disapproves. The writer says, be very wary of opinions that flatter your self esteem. Both men and women, 9 times out of 10, are firmly convinced of the superior excellence of their own sex. There is abundant evidence on both sides. If you are a man, you can point out that most poets and men of science are male, and if you are a woman, you can retort that so are most criminals. The question is inherently insoluble, but self esteem conceals this from most people. Means what? The writer over here gives a very nice example. He gives that he says that our opinions, it matters to us most and it changes as per the situation. For example, if you are a man, you might think that all the men in the world are superior. Likewise, if you are a woman, you may think that all the women in the world are superior. For example, the writer says that if you are a man, you might point out that most poets or scientists in the world are male. But if you are a female, you may disregard this, disapprove this by saying that most men in the world are criminals also. So this is a matter of self-esteem, isn't it? Naturally, if you are a man, you're going to support men. If you are a woman, you're going to support women. We are all, whatever part of the world we come from, persuaded that our own nation is superior to all others, seeing that each nation has its characteristics, merits and demerits. We adjust our standard of values so as to make out that merits possessed by excuse me, by our nation that are really important ones, while its demerits are comparatively trivial. Writer over here, very nicely, he explains that since our childhood, we are taught that our nation is the superior one as compared to the others. Although we all know that every nation has its characteristics, there are some merits, there are some demerits, and everybody needs to adjust. But still, everyone, whoever stays in their nation, they always consider that their nation is superior to other, and somehow this feeling is correct also, because this makes you patriotic. And the writer over here has got a message for you. He says, here again, the rational man will admit that the question is one to which there is no demonstratively right answer. It is more difficult to deal with the self-esteem of man as man because we cannot argue out of the matter with some non-human mind. The only way I know of dealing with this general human conceit is to remind ourselves that man is a brief episode in the life of a small planet in a little corner of the universe, and that, for aught we know, other parts of the cosmos may contain beings as superior to ourselves as we are to jellyfish. Here, the writer, he has given a very nice example. He says that as a rational man, we will admit that it is very difficult to deal with the self-esteem of man. Isn't it? Like, for example, it's Everybody has got a self respect, and it's difficult to deal with the self respect of all the people. Can you argue with a non human mind? No. You can argue with a human only. If I ask you to go and argue with a non human, maybe an animal, any animal, will you be able to do that? No. It means that we can argue with the human minds only and not the non human mind. So the writer says, the only way I know of dealing with this general human conceit is to remind ourselves that man is a brief episode in the life of a small planet, in a little corner of the universe. We must not forget that we are just a small part, a very small part of this vast universe. If you compare this whole universe to yourself, what do you think? What part are we? We are just a small dot, isn't it? Or maybe less than that also. As compared to the whole universe, we are just a small part, very small, and we should not forget that. And the other part of the cosmos may contain beings as superior to ourselves as we are to jellyfish. Like he has compared the human beings to jellyfish. For example, if there is a jellyfish in front of you, what do you think? What would you consider if I say who is superior, a jellyfish or human being? Obviously, you will say that human beings are much more superior than to jellyfish. Similarly, we must not forget that the universe is vast and limitless. There may be some other solar systems, there may be some other planets on which life exists. And there may be some other beings also who are much more superior than to us, as we compare ourselves superior to a jellyfish. So we may just appear to be a jellyfish in front of them. Don't forget that. Writer says, other passions besides self-esteem are common source of error. Of these, perhaps the most important is fear. Fear sometimes operates directly by inventing rumors of disaster in wartime, or by imagining objects of terror such as ghost is bhoot, in something comforting such as the elixir of life. What do you mean by elixir of life? It's a divine substance that made somebody immortal. That is called as elixir of life. Elixir of life is a divine substance that will make someone immortal, and as a result the person won't die. Or heaven for ourselves and hell for our enemies. That we always do, isn't it? We always dream and we always want heaven for us, ourselves, and hell for our enemies. Whenever we get angry with someone, what do? We just tell him, go to hell. But will we say the same for us? Will we say, let me go to hell? No. We will always want that, let God bless us with heaven. And we always want our enemies to be in hell. And that is a general human nature. And that is why the writer over here says that sometimes inventing rumors. Rumor is like afwah in Hindi. Of disaster in wartime, or by imagining objects of terror such as ghosts. Sometimes it operates indirectly by creating itself in something comforting, such as the elixir of life, or heaven for ourselves and hell for enemies. Fear has many forms: fear of death, fear of dark, fear of the unknown, and that vague generalized fear that comes to those who conceal from themselves their more specific terrors. Writer over here, Bertrand Russell, he says that as a human, we have different forms of fear, isn't it? We are afraid of death. We are afraid of darkness. We are afraid of the unknowns and the wake. Until you have admitted your own fears to yourself and have guarded yourself by a difficult effort of will against their myth making power, you cannot hope to think. So, here, cannot hope to think truly about the matter of great importance, especially those with which religious beliefs are concerned. Fear is the main source of superstition and one of the main sources of cruelty. To conquer fear is the beginning of wisdom, in the pursuit of truth, as in the endeavor after a worthy manner of life. Wisdom is what? Knowledge, Gyan. The writer over here says that sometimes it happens to all of us, we are always fear of unknown. We don't know about the facts, but still we are afraid. We don't know what is going to happen in the future. We don't, instead of worrying about the present, we start worrying about our future. And when we think about the future, we always think about the darkness most of the time. We keep on thinking, we don't know what wrong or what obstacles the time is going to put in front of us. And sometimes, for example, we always believe in superstitions also. For example, like there is a superstition, बिल्ली रास्ता काट गई तो आगे कुछ अपशगुन होगा, isn't it? Or there are many other superstitions also. So आपने ये देख लिया तो superstition होगा, अगर ऐसा हो गया तो ये अपशगुन है, वो हो गया तो ये शगुन है. So this type of things just they create a type of fear in your mind. Oh my goodness, this thing has happened and this thing has now, this means that something wrong is going to happen to me. The wrong has not still happened, but क्योंकि अपशगुन हो चुका है, so अपशगुन हो गया है, but that thing is not of great importance. The thing is that कि अपशगुन हो गया है, now you in your mind you are thinking that now because you have gone, you have seen something, this is a sign of getting something wrong, so this is completely you are believing in a superstition. Science is not saying you that. There is no scientific fact. Just you are believing in that belief. Because since childhood, we have been said this way. It has been inserted in our mind deep down there that if this thing happens, this is a sign that something wicked will happen to you. Wicked is kharab. And this is a bad sign and this is a good sign. So for the whole of the life, rest of the life, we keep on fighting with these things. The bad sign, the good sign, the superstitions, and the knowledge, the wisdom is lost. Do you seriously think that if you are trapped in these dogmas, if you believe in all the superstitions, do you seriously think you can ever in your life have wisdom? Do you seriously think you can ever in your life will gain knowledge? No. What if you were just going to appear in your university exam and you got some bad sign and now you are thinking that this is a bad sign, I must not appear in the exam, I must not go out of home, maybe something wrong will happen to me, so I should not go, it's better I stay at home. So there can be two things which you will be doing. Either you won't go and miss your university exams, as a result you will spoil your future. The other thing is you will be brave enough, you will still think कोई बात नहीं, bad luck हो गया, but still my exams are important and I am going to appear in them anyhow. You'll walk out of your home, you managed to go to the examination center, you sat in the hall, the question paper is in front of you and you're trying to answer as well as possible. But still, you know what? you won't be able to give the answers confidently, because पूरा टाइम यू विल कीप ऑन थिंकिंग आते समय तो कुछ नहीं हुआ था, कहीं जाते समय कुछ ना हो जाए, घर से आते समय तो आ गया पर जाते समय कहीं कोई दुर्घटना ना हो जाए, घर पे कुछ ना हो जाए. You'll keep on thinking these things that by bad sign, those superstitious beliefs will keep on haunting you. As a result, at first place, you might not step out of the house and go to your examination center. At the second place, if you go, you still will not be able to give your 100% because you are lost. You are lost in the swamp of superstition. The knowledge is lost. The wisdom is lost. The writer says there are two ways of avoiding fear. One is by persuading ourselves that we are immune from disaster, and the other is by the practice of sheer courage. The latter is difficult, and to everybody becomes impossible at a certain point. The former has therefore always been more popular. Primitive magic has the purpose of securing safety, either by injuring enemies or by protecting oneself by talismans, spells, or incantations, without any essential change. Belief in such ways of avoiding danger survived throughout the many centuries of civilization. Science has now lessened the belief in magic, but many people place more faith in mascots than they are willing to avow. Neither a man, nor a crowd, nor a nation can be trusted to act humanly or to think sanely under the influence of great fear, and for this reason, poltroons are more prone to cruelty than brave men, and are also more prone to superstition. Means what? The writer over here says you that you can avoid your fear. If you are afraid of things, if you are fearful, you can avoid it in two ways. One is you can always think that you are always immune to disaster. That is, मुझे तो कभी कुछ गलत हो ही नहीं सकता. And the other is just think that you are too courageous, that you can overcome any problem. And that means that the first thing is that either you think that you are completely immune to the disaster and nothing wrong can happen to you. And the other thing is that you can think that if something wrong comes to your way, if some problem comes to your way, you are strong enough to overcome the problem and you will fight back. That means कि अगर कुछ मुश्किल आ भी गई तो मैं बड़ी दृढ़ता से उसका सामना करूँगा या करूँगी और fight back करूँगी. But still, this fact of fighting back and confronting the problem is a bit scary, and all the people will not be brave enough to go through this path. That is why the previous one, that I am immune from all the disaster, is much popular among the people. It happens to us, isn't it? Sometimes just we have some lucky stone which may be given by any astrologer, or we wear some kind of necklace or bracelets, or we wear some kind of dress, or you keep some type of things with you and you think that you are brave enough. And now मेरे पास मैंने एक ये पत्थर पहना हुआ है, या मैंने एक ये जो धागा बांधा हुआ है, या मैंने ये जो ड्रेस पहना हुआ है, या मैंने जो एक वो सामान है मेरे बैग में, वो इतना पावरफुल है कि वो किसी चीज़ को मेरे पास आने दे ही नहीं सकता है, मतलब मेरे साथ कुछ गलत नहीं हो सकता है, लाइक दैट. So you become, this gives you some kind of confidence that some astrologer or someone has given me this stone, or someone has given me this thread, or someone has given me this necklace or bracelet, and if I wear this, then no disaster can ever come to me. This happens to us, isn't it? So it gives us some sort of immunity to our mind. Our mind starts thinking that now I am immune from any kind of disaster. Nothing wrong can happen to me. You know what? The writer over here writes, primitive magic has the purpose of securing safety. So, for this reason, not only in our nation, but in almost all parts of the world, you might have heard people using primitive kind of magic for securing safety. Safety against the enemies, some kind of talisman, some kind of spells, some kind of incantations. And this type of things make you think that now you can avoid the danger and you can be free from anything wicked. But we have been getting too solemn. Superstitions are not always dark and cruel. Often they add to the gaiety of life. I received once a communication from the god Osiris, giving me his telephone number. He lived, at that time, in a suburb of Boston, although I did not enroll myself among his worshippers. His letters gave me pleasure. I have frequently received letters from men announcing themselves as the Messiah and urging me not to omit to mention this important fact in my lectures. Now, I admire especially a certain prophetess who lived beside a lake in northern New York State about year 1820. So look here, the writer over here. But we have given too solemn. So here the writer says, sometimes the superstition is not always dark and evil. Sometimes it is good for you also. For example, he says that he received once a communication from the god Osiris and he gave his telephone number. And although the writer did not involve himself among his worshippers, but still he used to feel nice whenever he used to receive his letter. The writer says that he used to admire a certain prophetess who used to stay near a lake in northern New York, near about 1820. She announced to her numerous followers that she possessed the power of walking on water and that she proposed to do so at 11 o'clock on a certain morning. Very interesting, isn't it? The writer here over says that he used to follow one prophetess, and one day what happened, she announced to her followers that she is having some kind of power, as a result of which she can walk over water. पानी के ऊपर वो चल सकती है. That was the announcement. And she said that she is going to do it publicly right at 11 o'clock on one morning. At the stated time, the faithful assembled in their thousands beside the lake. She spoke to them saying, "Are you all entirely persuaded that I can walk on water?" With one voice they replied, "We are." In that case, she announced, "There is no need for me to do so." And they all went home much edified. Perhaps the world would lose some of its interest and variety in such beliefs were wholly replaced by cold science. A wise man will enjoy the goods of which there is a plentiful supply, and of intellectual rubbish he will find an abundant diet. In our own age, as in every other. Bertrand Russell. What a funny incident. Writer over here says that he used to follow a certain prophetess who used to stay by the lake in 1820s. So one day what happened, she announced to the worshippers that, dear worshippers, I have some powers, and that powers allow me to walk over the water. So, and I will show you that one day, 11 o'clock in the morning. The day was finalized. All the worshippers gathered nearby the lake. They were thousands in number. They were eager to see how this prophetess is going to walk over the water. When the crowd was ready, the prophetess asked, dear worshippers, do you all believe that I'll be able to walk over the water? This means prophetess ने पूछा अपने worshippers से, क्या आप सबको ये लगता है कि मैं पानी के ऊपर चल सकती हूँ? And undoubtedly, all the worshippers, they replied with one voice, we are, that is, yes we do. हम सबको लगता है कि आप पानी पे चल सकती हैं. That was the answer. So in return to this, she replied, well, if this is the case, if you all believe that I can walk over water, then there is no need for me to do so. Then you already are believing that I can walk over the water. Then why do I need to show that I can walk over the water? It's useless, isn't it? It's a natural instinct, isn't it? Like if the person says that I 100% believe you, I truly believe you, then you don't need to show the proof. If the person is already believing you, why will you waste your time and just go and show the proof? You will leave it. Similarly, this prophetess also did the same thing, and she said that if you all believe that I can walk over the water, it's not necessary for me to do so and show you and prove you. And everybody was happy. They all returned home and they all were satisfied, thinking that yes, the prophetess might be able to, she might be having those powers to walk over the water. And they were all happy, content and satisfied, and they all returned. That is why Bertrand Russell says that he thinks that the world would lose some of its interest and variety if such beliefs were wholly replaced by cold science. Instead of believing, Bertrand Russell says, instead of believing that one can walk over the water, you should believe science. It should be replaced by the cold science, because science does not believe in all of these things. Science believes in facts and figures. And if you do so, he says, you'll gain wisdom over the superstitions. You will gain knowledge over the fear. And with this, we have come to an end of the chapter. Children, those who are watching this video, live or recorded, whatever the case may be, I would suggest you just one thing. You just saw that it took me almost nearly 1 hour just to explain the chapter. Still, there were very important word meanings and question answers which can come in your exam, and it is almost difficult for me to discuss all of them in just a short period of time. And therefore, I request you and I recommend you to join the Plus classes, as I take up the Plus classes every day. You can come to the Plus classes and get the chapter clarified, where I will discuss the question answers too and hear to all your doubts. All the doubt, because there is a doubt clearing session also in the Plus classes. In YouTube, just in 1 hour, sometimes it's very difficult to explain the chapter, to explain the question answer, and to clarify the doubts as well. And that is why the Plus classes are recommended. Dear children, I take up English classes for both class 9 and 10. And I teach English literature and English grammar as well. I would recommend you just one thing. In case if you are not able to join the plus class, at least join the special classes. The special classes timing is night 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Tomorrow, Monday night, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. you have got a class with me. I take up Monday, Tuesday and Thursday, Friday. All of these classes are free. For this, you just need to download the Unacademy app, Learners app, and you can use my code Manpreet10, which is flashing on your screen. I think it's visible to you. It's just simply capital MANPR 8010. You can use this code for unlocking the free special classes. The free special classes are completely free. You don't have to pay a single penny for it. So you can attend the free special classes and see if you like them. Go ahead and take the plus subscription. I am just writing the code once again. It's capital MANPR 8010. Use this code to unlock the free special class. Got it? And join me tomorrow, Monday night, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. You can also start following me. Search for me with the name Manpreet Kaur. Then once you start following me, you will get the bell notification icon also. You please hit the bell notification icon also, and once you start following me, you will get the notification from Unacademy. Now let me show you the rate chart. For 1 month subscription, it will cost you around 2,500, whereas 3 month subscription, the fees get lowered to 2,167. Overall cost 6,500 for 6 months. Monthly, it's 1,667. Overall cost nearly 10,000. For 12 months, the fees get lowered to just 1,250, and for 24 months, it is 1,042. And it will further get lowered. You will get a discount of 10% if you use the code Manpreet10. Hence, use the code and take up the plus subscription now. With this, we have come to an end of the class. And we are going to close the class now here. This is Manpreet Kaur signing off from Unacademy's YouTube channel. But I will be back in less than 5 minutes. Till then, keep smiling and thank you for watching. Bye.